Hey, what's up? Just wanted to have a little chat while I go for a ride on my motorcycle. I want to discuss the truth about being a mobile technician. Now, I'm talking about an automotive technician. There's various ones. There's ones that focus strictly on locksmith. You got calibration technicians, you got diagnostic technicians, a mixture of the two. You got ones that just go and do programming. It can be a very rewarding career, but also very stressful, because if you're extremely good at what you do, accurate, then you're going to be busy, and most of the time you're going to come to a vehicle that another technician, or maybe even multiple technicians, maybe even the dealership, have touched, thrown parts at, whatever. Now you got new parts, you still have a problem. Sometimes you get the truth, half the time you don't. Or you might be called out to calibrate something or program something. And the calls keep coming in for different locations, different problems, different cars. So you have to move quickly. Truth of the matter is, not everybody's made to be a mobile technician. Because it's highly stressful. You also have to do invoicing, writing invoices in a manner that covers you and also details the problem at the same time without burying your customer to where they don't want to use you no more. Particularly if it's an insurance claim, because they need that invoice to get paid. Tons of tools are needed. I'm not going to preach about just buy OEM tools. Obviously there's advantages of having OEM tools, but let's face it, there's aftermarket tools that get it done. That's just how it is. Whether the aftermarket tool is a, direct rip-off of an OE tool, or whatever, you're going to need multiple tools, period. A scope, depending on, the type of mobile repair you do. I mean, if you're doing diagnostics, you need one, period. Because there's going to be times that you need to diagnose a no communication issue, and it's just far easier using an oscilloscope than trying to track it down with the multimeter. Maybe you're the top tech in your shop right now. Well, that won't necessarily be the case when you go to mobile. You're going to run into cars that you've never seen before. You're going to run into problems you've never experienced yet. And you have to be quick at it. I mean, you got another 10 cars, say you got another 10 cars to get to in the same day. Well, hell, let's even cut that in half. Another 5 cars. You got drive time. You gotta have time to eat. You gotta have time to invoice. And if they're all diags or whatever, you gotta have time to do it properly. So it's going to test your skills to the max. They're calling you because they couldn't figure out the issue, or they don't have the tooling. Once you're mobile, you realize how many shops out there do not have the proper tooling, proper training. And the messed up part is there's so much free training out there, yet a majority does not take advantage of it. Hell, I'm happy to pay for any training I can go to, because it's going to make me better in the end. And that's kind of where the price differences are in the mobile field. You'll have guys out there doing it for $40 an hour or whatever, real cheap, dirt cheap, half of what you're charging. Well, I can guarantee they're not as skilled nor as well tooled as someone that does all the training, invest in the tooling, that charges a higher rate. Now, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's lots of people that are charging a high rate yet don't know what the hell they're doing. It's the truth of the mobile world. You always have somebody out there trying to make a quick buck. They don't care. If they piss off the customer, there's another person that'll, call them up because they're cheap. If you're good, you'll get them calls before they ever call that cheap guy, because they know when they have an issue, you're going to get it figured out, fixed, or diagnosed for them correctly, programmed correctly, whatever. It's all about being top, highly skilled at what you do. Choosing to go mobile should not be a light decision. You're not going to go out with one scan tool because there's going to be times that scan tool won't have the function that you need. Another thing you're going to need is a network of peers to ask questions. Even the best trainers in this field run into something. They have to bounce an idea or ask for technical advice on a car they run into. It's a fact. Sometimes service information isn't complete, so it really could get you in a wrong funnel or wrong direction. I mean, take the Nissans with the fault code for the Prindle, where the fault actually could be a taillight bulb or the contacts back there causing that fault code to set. You go look in SI, that's not even listed as a possible cause. So there's stuff you run into that you need, more eyes, more thoughts on. You need to have a plan, a diagnostic strategy that you use over and over and over again. Because if you blindly go in testing different things, don't know what you're expecting, you're going to be slow. You're not going to be able to get all them jobs, and they're going to end up going to a dealer or sending it somewhere else. And that hurts your business. Whether you work for somebody else or go independent yourself, there's always the stress level of getting to the next vehicle, getting the next one done. It's a chase. So you'll want to have expectations of the shop, and also let them know what they can expect from you. Obviously, you're going to want the car ready for you on location. They could call, the car might not be even there yet. Why are you going to want to waste time going to a shop when the car's not there, and them just saying, oh well, it was supposed to be here? Another thing is multiple sources of service information. I highly recommend getting the OE service information for your highest volume vehicle you work on, if you can't afford all. There's stuff in that, and All Data or Mitchell, whatever you use for aftermarket right now. Hell, some of you probably don't even have it, so you go to Facebook and ask. But point is, some of that SI and aftermarket, particularly when you're going to, say, a body shop, they're going to have the newest of the newest cars there already in for an accident. Some of them might not even have 30 miles on them. And you got to diagnose that system. About 50-50 do you have the information and all that for that new car. And European, it drops dramatically. So understand what your main focus is, your main manufacturers. Get OE. Yes, it's a cost. And that's kind of where the price of what you charge comes in. You have to figure out what your subscriptions cost you, your tooling, training, fuel to get there, insurance. There's a lot of things to think about. Half the ones I see go out on a whim, unprepared, and half the time we're chasing their mess up, or they ended up not being able to complete the job, whatever the case may be. You have to be prepared, well prepared. Multiple scan tools, an oscilloscope. I don't care if you use a U-scope. I'll be honest, I use my U-scope almost daily. I have a 4-channel 4-channel on my van. It's not a Pico. I actually gave one of the other guys my Pico to use because he didn't have one yet. Obviously, it's hard getting everything in. Anybody that's ordered a VCI or anything knows some of this stuff is on back order. Anyway, I have another 4-channel, but my go-to is the U-Scope. That thing cost me 500 bucks from AES Wave. I use that thing almost daily, and the amount of cars I fixed with that thing has well paid for that tool. Get a fairly inexpensive multimeter. I don't use a multimeter, I just use my U-Scope. But if you want a multimeter, get a multimeter. Get a U-Scope. You're going to want different VCIs. You don't want to rely on 1 or 2 J boxes, because every now and then you'll get something old where a new J box might be too fast for it, or you might get something new that the J box won't work with the software. So I would strongly suggest to look into the makes and models that you expect to work with, see what the software requirements are, laptop, VCI, and then you also got to determine, are you going to pull that car apart to gain access, or are you going to have the shop do it? There's an advantage to letting the shop tear things down. One, you can write it up for tear down if that's what your testing leads you to, so it gives you time to get to other jobs. Number two, if something breaks, it's on them, not you. I mean, how many of us have taken plastic pieces apart, trim or whatever, had clips break, the plastic crack from age? It's stuff that people might not think about when they're considering going mobile. But I'm telling you, you gotta consider all of this, because it's very easy to upset. It might be a really good customer, might have been doing a lot of work, but if you start breaking a lot of stuff and flat out refusing to pay for it, or if you do pay for it like you should, if you take it apart, you took the risk, you should have charged for it. It's just like programming. It's risk. It's a risk. You brick that module, that customer is going to expect you to cover that module in most cases. Now there's times that a programming may fail that's not on you, but if you just simply plug into a car, start programming it, no battery support, and it bricks because the battery voltage gets too low, that's on you. You need to pay for that module and cover the programming. There's a ton of stuff before you go mobile you need to consider. Do you have a disclaimer for used parts? What if they put a used module in? What's your disclaimer? I know what we do. There's no guarantees with used parts, period. For one, you don't know where that part came from. Yeah, maybe you've done them successfully, you know, 10 times in a row. It only takes one time for it to fail to ruin your day, or something to go wrong. So having procedures, letting your customers know up front, hey, If you put a used module in, it may or may not work. That way they know ahead of time. They can decide if they want to proceed. Say you're charging $200 to program that module. You tell them, well, a used one may not work. Hell, how many times have they tried putting a used module in a global A? See it all the time. And then you tell them, hey, this car's a global A. It requires new only. It's just stuff to consider. I mean, even if you have I/O terminal, there's modules that can't do. And usually if you have that, you're going to charge a little more. But you got to be up front with them. Hey, it could either not work or it could fail. Do you still want to proceed? Everybody sees mobile as, you know, less expensive to do because you don't have a building. Well, yeah, you don't have a building payment, but you need more tools. You need a van. You need a reliable van. You're going to have services that need to be done on the van. You're going to pay for, you know, shit that goes sideways that you might not expect. So you got to consider that. If your van breaks down or whatever your service vehicle is, how are you still going to get work done while that gets fixed? Are you going to fix your own service vehicle? Perform its own maintenance? Well, now you got to decide where you're going to do it. You may end up needing a building to do that. The truth of the matter is, mobile isn't as easy as it may seem. You're going to have a lot of pressure on you. You're going to have a lot of tool requirements. As you grow, you're going to need more tools. You may even have to hire another technician. Where do you find one? Now you got to train them. Provide, you know, a fair wage to them. Make sure they have enough work to do. I'm not saying don't think about going mobile. I'm not saying that. Just understand. Maybe you don't want to make the investment in all the tools. Well, there's successful mobile companies already that provide you with all the tools, the van, the insurance, everything you pretty much need. And they'll give you the training that maybe you're lacking. Maybe you've never had an opportunity to go training, or maybe you've only been to a little bit of training because you weren't making enough wrenching or whatever, didn't have time or whatever. There's companies that are established that hire. They always need employees because there's more and more cars that need to be fixed. There's calibrations that require to be done after a collision, and mechanical shops need programming, keys, diagnostics, AC services, what have you, because they're undertooled themselves. And maybe you're coming from a shop that's undertooled. Maybe you're tired of it. Maybe you're the ones paying for all your updates on your scan tool. Yet they're raking all the profits off your scan tool because the shop don't have one. Whatever. Maybe that's why you want to go mobile. There's different routes for everybody. Whether you go out on your own, which is tough, just be aware. It's hard. It's going to be hard at first. You're going to be, you know, broke for a little while anyway, until you establish yourself. You're going to have to go to shops and introduce yourself, try to get your foot in the door. To be honest, a lot of shops are resistant to it. They're like, well, why could this guy come in and do XYZ job and we can't? So you'll have resistance. So you might start off with, you know, a couple shops, 3, 4. Well, word travels. If you're good, people, other shops will recommend you to other shops. And you also have advertising. You'll advertise a lot because you'll want to build up a foundation to where you know you can comfortably live, you can pay yourself, you can, you know, the company that you create, if you're going out on your own, can pay its bills, cost of fuel, van, service vehicle, I should say, because not everybody uses a van. And let's be honest, right now some of the vans are extremely hard to find. So you might use a pickup truck, you might be using an SUV at first, and it might be your personal one. Well, eventually you want your business to pay for all that stuff, so it's not actually coming out of your pocket. So your company should earn enough to cover all that cost. Now if you go with an established company, a lot of that's already taken care of for you. So it might be an easier route to go. But you will still have some stress from it. Just because, you know, you'll be wanting to get to the next job or whatever. You'll put pressure on yourself. It's natural. Trust me. It's natural to put pressure on yourself. You might go to an established company. At least you don't have to pay for your tools, your van, or service vehicle. All that goes along with it. And most of the ones I know about do, you know, train their employees. They send them to training. So it's a good opportunity. It's just going to be different than a shop life. So be ready for it. Anyway, that's the end of my rant for now. I mean, there's so much of the topic that you can talk about. That video would be never ending. But for now, I'm going to enjoy riding my motorcycle. You go ahead and have a great day. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I'll catch you on the next one.